हरे कृष्ण ज्योतिश्वर प्रभु. Are you there, Jyotishwar Prabhu? Yes, Prabhu. I will just give you the host because I have to go somewhere. Thank you for coming
Okay.
early.
Okay, Prabhuji. No problem. Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I'm traveling. Within 5 minutes, I will be at my place, destination. So, because there is noise, so I'm just putting it my mute.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. You're welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Kavi Karnapura Prabhuji was on. He was live, and he made me host, and he said that he wanted to go out somewhere, so he left.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was a little bit late to log in because I was involved in a Damodara Kartik Vrat before joining the class. Okay.
Okay.
We can start now.
Yes.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Go Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Go Jai Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Yashiranjana Brother Jaranjana Go Yashiranjana Brother Jaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Go Yamuna Tira Vanachari Go Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Garadhara Srivasari Gora Bhakta Vrinda Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Garadhara Srivasari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Premanande. Dhanam Vishnu Paramhamsa Parisvagacharya Stu Starasata Sri Srimati's Divine Grace Abhay Chanabinda Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Nanta Koti Varibinde Ki Guru Maharaj Ki Tantra Smart Bhavatam Class Ki Narayanam Namaskrityam Narunchaiva Naruttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Chatudai Muridai Nasta Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasluke Bhakti Bhavaiti Naistike Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, we're all welcome to today's sharing. Readings will be taken from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 29, text number 1 through 18. And then before we go there, let's see how many of us are here. I sincerely welcome everyone back to this systematic study. We've taken last week into observing the Jagannath Rath Yatra Festival, and it was really great. Lord Jagannath give an outpour of so much of costless mercy, we conditioned souls, and we were so happy to avail in it. So I believe all of us must have returned back to our destination safely. Okay, so well, we will continue with whatever number we have here. I think Prabhu Jyoti, you're the only person on board right now.
Yes.
Okay, before
Yes,
we left,
Prabhuji, only we are two.
yeah, before we left for the Rath Yatra last week, we left with us some take-homes which we wanted the different devotees to go back and do some Puva Swadaya, some personal readings, and come out with relevant points to be able to make some preaching applications to the class. Okay, since you're the only one here, we gave you text number 21 through 25 of chapter 28 of Canto 3 to do an understudy. So can you brief us about your discoveries, your realizations, and be able to preach to this class? What is your personal understanding on those chapters? Okay, Chitra Prabhu, you're welcome, just joining. Okay. We're waiting to hear from Jyoti Swarup Prabhu. Okay, that before we embark on the Jagannath Rath Yatra of last week, we left some personal studies with the students, and we requested the students to go do personal readings of the following text. So to you, we assign you text 21 through 25 of chapter 28 of Canto 3. So can you share? We expect the students to come back to class and give a preaching application of this text.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhuji. So I will give a little explanation from slok number 21 to 25, which was given to me last week. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. In slok number starting from 21 to 25, it is described here for the devotee how to meditate on the lotus face or lotus feet of the Lord. So, um, Kapil Dev has explained to his mother in this particular chapter how we should, or devotee or yogi, should meditate on the Lord, how we should meditate or concentrate our mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. It has been explained here that Lord's lotus feet, when we goes to see the Lord, some people, sometimes neophyte or some new people, they think that what to see exactly in the Lord. Lord is there standing. So what to see in that? But actually, that's why it has been explained here in detail that when we go in front of the Lord, how we should start and uh, what exactly we should take the note and how we should observe a little thing also. Or from we should start from the lotus feet. There is a mark of the thunderbolt and God, which is like is a tool or a bar which they use to operate elephant, that is called God, and the banner like a flag and the lotus. So it is explained here. We should start from the under the feet. We should start from there. We should see the marks under the lotus feet of the Lord, and then we should see the nails, the beautiful nails of the Lord. It is explained here that the splendor of the beauty, like a ruby, a diamond ruby, God's Lord's nail, it looks like a ruby, and the effulgence come out of the toe or the nail is like the orbit of the moon. Like when we see the orbit of the moon is very, very attractive and pinkish color, reddish color. So when we see the lotus feet of the Lord and particularly the nail of the Lord, we can see how beautiful the Lord's nail is. Actually, someone can say why we should observe the nails of the Lord, or why we should observe the feet of the Lord, or why we should start from there. Actually, Lord is all merciful, strengthful, powerful, beautiful. So when we see at the lotus feet of the Lord, our in our heart is a full of sinful activities and is a mountain of sins, I can say. So when we see the lotus feet of the Lord, the effulgence come out of the nail or the feet of the Lord. It can work like a thunderbolt. Thunderbolt can just break mountain easily, shatter the mountain easily. The same way, when we see the lotus feet or a thumb or a nail of the Lord, the effulgence come out of the nail. It can correct our sinful activity or any desire from our heart. So later on, Kapil Dev explained in the next verse that the yogi should fix in his heart the activities of the Lakshmi, the goddess of the fortune. Like everyone always worship. We have seen even last week um, it was Diwali in India, and I can see I was in Ghana, but I just came to Mumbai just 3 days back. So I was there and I was watching that on Lakshmi Puja on Diwali, everyone wanted to worship the Lakshmi Devi just to so that Lakshmi Devi can reside with us forever. So everyone have a desire that Lakshmi Devi can be with us always. But when we worship a Lord Vishnu or Sri Krishna, automatically Lakshmi Devi follows. Like when we worship Krishna, we have a Krishna with us, we have a Lord Vishnu with us in our heart. Automatically, Lakshmi Devi will follow because she is a Pativrata Nari. So she follows her husband everywhere, anywhere. And as we can see, Lord uh, Vishnu is always lying down, and Lakshmi ji serving Lord Vishnu's feet, massaging his feet always. So we should learn from this text. In the next verse, it says that Uru Suparna Bhujayo Radhi Shobhamanav Ajo Nidhi Atasika Kusubhav Bhaso Vyalambhi Pitavar Vasasi Vartamana Kaschi Kalapapam Rimbhi Nitambha Bimba Ma. It has been said here that yogi or a devotee should fix in his mind a meditation on personality of Godhead high. Because someone will think that why we should see or meditate on the thigh. What is there? But actually, everyone's whose body strength is in the thigh. So, and God is full of strength. So, when we are meditating on a thigh, it can give us is like God's thigh is a house of all energy. When even we meditate on the thigh, we can get so that we can meditate and worship the Lord easily. It has been explained deeply here how the Lord's thigh looks like. It is explained here like luster of a linseed flower or a whitish blue color. So it's very beautiful. Like Lord always sits on Garuda and comes, and we can see there is a yellowish silk cloth which is up to his ankle. So when we meditate on his Lord's thigh, starting from the lotus feet and then from the ankle, we should meditate on it. Someone will say why and what we should meditate. There is so much to meditate. Like we can go on 16 round only on the thigh, 20 round only on the thigh. We should meditate like that. So when we do that, we should chant only with our closed eye, with our open eye, just meditate on it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We should just meditate, just meditate, and just meditate. We can just meditate on it and we can spend our whole life. So someone cannot say that what we should meditate. We should just meditate and chant. Actually, lords have a lord's toe from where Ganges river is flowing, and Lord Shiva is a supreme. I mean, is a very higher personality, highest personality, and even he has a hold river Ganges on his head. He has become uh, more precious person. So because Lord has touched the Gange, and Gange has gotten some is a highest river. So we should always meditate on the Lord. In the next verse, it is said that the yogi should meditate on his moonlight navel. Then after the thigh, we should meditate on the navel, the Lord's navel, or a center. Navel is the center of the abdomen, where our from the abdomen the kamal lotus came out, and uh, it's an entire universe into that lotus theme. So we should meditate, and our all the planetary system, 14 planetary system, is consist in that lotus theme. So we should meditate always on the lotus feet, then thigh, then we should come up to the chest and the center of the abdomen. Then we should meditate on the Lord's nipple. It resemble like a pair of emerald, like a very beautiful stone. Emerald is a very nice stone. So we should meditate on it, and then there is a necklace on the chest of the Lord, which is very adoring, which is white pearl, like is a pearl like a moti, is a white pearl, and when it shines, that shines come to the nipple, and it looks like a white pearls, uh, very adoring on his chest. So we should always meditate uh, on the lotus feet, and then come up to the lotus face of the Lord, and that is how we should meditate. All the yogis, all the devotees, this is how we should meditate on the Lord. So this is has been explained here in this verse from 21 to 25, and then so on. It has been explained. So this was my part, Prabhuji. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the detailed explanation. This really depicts a great deal of personal understanding. But I will quickly want to point out one of the errors here which should not continue. So when you having a class, supposing you are in front, you're on the asan, and you have an audience of devotees sitting before you, would you put a veil before yourself and the audience? Would you want to put a veil? Would you want to put some covering before you and the audience? So it is not expected, because in your presentations, we are supposed to access your body chemistry, your facial look, your eye contacts, and your composure before the audience. And then when you put the veil, how do we access that? So when you started your explanation, you put off your video. This is a Zoom. It is not an audio presentation. If it's an audio presentation, so we only concentrate on the sound. This is a Zoom. The Zoom involves the video. We want to see a visual expression, how you be able to, because this is, in this process, we also have to be trained in the manners of maintaining eye contacts before audience while you're on the asan. Because while on the asan, you must not be segregative, must not be looking to one side, maybe avoiding the matatis, only looking on the prabhus, must look through everywhere. You must be able to take full control of the class, because at that time you are in charge. So you must give consent and this compassion to everybody. You must maintain eye contact. By this eye contact, you can be able to control to what degree are people concentrating on the class. And you can sit people up, say sit properly by observation. As you observe, the audience could be able to discover that certain people were not doing it right, and then you can be able to correct. So please, next time, don't put off your video and just put some picture. No, it's not proper like that. It's equal to sitting on the asan and then putting a cotton veil between you and the asan and the audience. Okay. So another point I want to point.
Actually, I was using my phone. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was using my phone, and I was giving expression as I was saying at one place, but I don't know that you are not seeing me. I never know. So I was even giving expression and
Yeah,
all things. But I thought
what
maybe
happened was
video is
that,
on.
as you started your narration, then you switch off the video and it was just a picture. It was just a
Ah,
picture.
sorry, I was not aware.
Srila Prabhupada's picture came
Okay,
displayed on
okay,
it. All right, that is
okay,
there.
Prabhuji,
And
sorry.
that you have to take note. And then two is that this chapter 21 through 25 is basically concentrating on our how we meditate on the personality of God. That first we start with the lotus feet. More concentration is given to the lotus feet because the scripture says that the lotus feet, why the pure devotees are so attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, is that everything is invested on the lotus feet. You've had descriptions of the symbols, the signs that are inscribed on the lotus feet and the significance. So much energy of the Lord is invested. In short, it is the fountain of the Lord's energy, the lotus feet. So it's mentioned there that so much concentration, more time should be given to meditating on the lotus feet and then gradually taking it up to the Lord's thighs and so on, to the navel and to other limbs of the body, to the nipples and so on. Finally coming to the Lord's physiognomy, the facial appearance. Okay, but if you look into the description, I didn't hear much as regards text 21. What does text 21 says? Listening through text 21, no, text 20. You're reading 21 through 25. What text is that? Okay, so text 22. Text 22 says, the blessed Lord, Shiva, becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of the Ganges, which has its source in the water that wash the lotus feet, the Lord's lotus feet. So the Lord's feet acts like a thunderbolt held to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. So there was some significance here that was supposed to be highlighted. Why Lord Shiva is so relevant for bearing the downpour of the Ganges, which washes the Lord lotus feet. So we didn't hear as much mentions as regard text 22. Yeah, though antecedents was marked at meditation on the Lord lotus feet. That you have exclusively explained. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for at least honoring that the piece of assignment and then doing justice to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you
A
very much.
little bit on the room for improvement. We hope you have taken cognizance of the few points you have to work on. Okay, I noticed this Prabhu came in, but it's no more there. So we have to go on. Address the issue when they are available in the class. Okay, so we want to go straight to the subject matter of today. You know, the Sumati devotee had requested the Lord to explain the process by which he can gain detachment from material activities. And the Lord started by explaining it through the Sankhya philosophical system. And now, this time around, the Lord is she's requesting the Lord to explain this same process through devotional service. So, the Lord, after he has carefully explained the concepts of the Sankhya philosophy, now David devotee now requested the Lord to further explain to her the part of devotional service through which she feels will help her to cultivate detachment from the activities of the material world. So, you know, as a woman, And the husband had tried to give her some satisfaction by exposing her to several material enjoyments. And now the husband is gone, and she had had a moment of enjoyment of the material affairs, and now she wants a process that can be able to detach her from this material enjoyment. And then she's requesting the son to explain that devotional process that can enable again detachment from material activities. So the Lord, in response, replied that there are varieties of devotional service. There are devotional service in the mode of ignorance, there are devotional service in the mode of passion, also devotional service in the mode of goodness. But pure devotional service is spontaneous. Being spontaneous in the sense that it is made part of us. Part of us in the sense that we don't need to apply any secondary mechanical process to remind us of what to do or what right path to follow. It has become part of us, it has been internalized. So whatever we becomes of our thought is all devotional, it's all meant to save or satisfy the whims of the Lord. Right now, we are trying to do japa, taking on our bit to chant the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is mechanical. Mechanical in the sense that we need the secondary factor to keep us in remembrance of the Lord's name. But when it becomes spontaneous, by our reasoning, by our thinking, it is the holy name. It is the Lord's name. So all of these mechanical processes are meant to properly situate us in constant thought of the Lord. So in the spontaneous level, the devotee becomes constantly in thought of the Lord. So all this mechanical process is meant to gradually drive us to that end, take us to that level where we can stay constantly thinking of the Lord. So in response to devotee's request, the Lord is saying here that pure devotional service will only come when our impetus for devotional service becomes spontaneous and uninterrupted and unalloyed, meant only for Narayan or Vishnu or Krishna. Therefore, a pure devotee does not aspire for material prosperity or even the 5 kinds of liberations. So, you see that for the pure devotees, they do not want anything, not even for their self-satisfaction, but except for the Lord's own satisfaction. So whatever they do is all meant to satisfy the Lord, irrespective of whatever is their condition. Why? Because they are fully convinced in the fact that the Lord takes charge. I often hear my Guru Maharaj says, Krishna is there, so what do I care? So you see the level of such faith. They don't care of whatever becomes of their situation. They are fully convinced that Krishna is in charge. And being convinced that Krishna is in charge means they don't care about whatever happened, because the conviction is rooted in the fact that the Supreme Lord takes charge of everything. So whatever becomes of the situation, they are satisfied with it, that this is what Krishna wants. And their only desire is what Krishna wants, and not of their personal desires or whatever. So whatever becomes of their personal experience, they don't care. They have full conviction that whatever situation they are put into, it is the desire of the Lord, because their only whims is what satisfies the desires of the Lord. So at this time, at this level of mindset, such devotions are spontaneous, and this is driving towards pure devotional service in pure goodness, which is transcendence. And so we'll begin chanting the slokas from 1. Then I'll take the first sloka of Canto 3, chapter 29, text 1. And after which we can take our rounds. Okay, text 1 and 2 is joined. So I take 1 and 2 first. Devauti uwacha laksanam mahad adinam prakrite purusasyascha swarupam laksyate nrisam yena tat param matikam yata sang Yesu katitam yan mulam tat prachak sate bhakti yogasya me magam bruhi vistarasa prabhu. Okay, in translation, Prabhupada says, Devotee inquired, my dear Lord, you have already very scientifically described the symptoms of the total material nature and the characteristics of the spirit according to the Sankhya system of philosophy. Now I shall request you to explain the part of devotional service, which is the ultimate end of all philosophical system. So in purport, taken from second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada explained that Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, is the basic principle of all systems of philosophy. And all philosophy which does not aim for devotional service for the Lord is considered merely mental speculation. I take it again, that all philosophy which does not aim for devotional service to the Lord is considered merely mental speculation. But of course, Bhakti Yoga with no philosophy, with no philosophical basis is more or less sentiment. So here Prabhupada often says, he says, philosophy without, which is not aiming at devotional service to the Supreme Lord is a mental speculation. Because the essence of all philosophy is to drive the understanding of the practitioner to rendering pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And if it does not do so, it is some concoctive process. It is speculative, because the aim is to, even for the yogis who are meditating, at the end point of it, if they do not realize devotional service to the Supreme Lord, they go nowhere. And also at the same time, Bhakti Yoga without the philosophical basis is also more or less a sentiment. So there are two classes of men. Some consider themselves intellectually advanced and simply speculate and meditate, and others are sentimental and have no philosophical basis for their propositions. Neither of these can achieve the highest goal of life, or if they do, it will take them many, many years, because in the speculative process is like the journey of a blind man, which has no specification to his destination. So he's given to touring left and right, going here and there, trying to figure out. But if sometimes, fortunately, in his wandering process, he might make it to the goal, but it's actually going to involve a great deal of time, far greater than moving under specific directions. So neither of these can achieve the highest goal of life, or if they do, it will take them many, many years, The Vedic literature therefore suggests that there are three elements, namely the Supreme Lord, the living entity, and the eternal relationship. And the goal of life is to follow the principles of Bhakti, or devotional service, and ultimately attain the planet of the Supreme Lord in full devotion and love as an eternal servitor of the Lord. So in the Sankhya philosophy is the analytical study of all existence. So one has to understand everything by examining its nature and characteristics. This is called acquirement of knowledge. But one should not simply acquire knowledge without reaching the goal of life or the basic principles for acquiring knowledge. Then Bhakti Yoga. So if we give up Bhakti Yoga and simply busy ourselves in the analytical study of the nature of things as they are, then the result will be practically nil. It is stated in the Bhagavatam that such engagement is sometimes like husking a paddy. There is no use beating the husk if the grains has already been removed. So in the two texts, it is explaining that the aim of all philosophical endeavors is to realize our eternal relationship with God, which is connected by our eternal servitorship attitudes. And if this is not achieved, then the aim of all such endeavors is cast into vain. And then the philosophy will have no basis if it does not spell out a devotional service at the end, a point of total surrender of one's own free will to the Lord. If it doesn't do so, then such endeavors are vain. Okay, so Jyoti Prabhu, I think you're the only one on board now. So I will, okay, Chitra is back. You can get back at his own work.
Yes,
We are
Prabhuji
going
is
to
around.
with text 3. Can you chant text 3 for us, Jyoti Prabhu?
Yes,
Else we have,
Prabhuji, I will.
we
Prabhuji,
can
text 2 or text 3?
text 3. Text 1 and 2
Guruji,
is done.
sorry, my network is very bad at where I am. I'm in a place and I'm not with my Bhagavatam. I can only
Okay.
the freedom to listen. So can you
Yes.
forgive me? The network is very bad.
Yeah.
I will
Okay,
read
we're asking
text
Jyoti Prabhu
3.
to read, Prabhu. All right, thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yes. Virago yena purusho bhagavad savarto bhaveta achaksyam divalokasya vividha mama sanshruti. Translation. Devahuti continued, My dear Lord, please also describe in detail, both for me and for people in general, the continual process of birth and death. For by hearing of such calamities, we may become detached from the activities of the material world. Purport. In this
Yes.
verse, the word samsrita is very important. Shreya Shriti means the prosperous path of advancement towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Smasriti means continued journey on the path of birth and death towards the darkest region of the material existence. People who have no knowledge in this material world, God and their actual intimate relationship with Him are actually going to the darkest region of material existence in the name of progress in the material advancement of civilization. To enter the darkest region of material existence means to enter into the spaces of life other than the human spaces. Ignorant men do not know that after his life they are completely under the grip of material nature and will be offered a life which may not be very congenial. How a living entity gets different kind of bodies will be explained in the next chapter. these continual changes of the body in the birth and death is called samsara. Devahuti requests her glorious son, Kapil Muni, to explain about this continued journey to impress upon the continued soul that they are undergoing a path of degradation by not understanding the part of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so from this point, she is further inquiring into more details about the calamities associated with the continual process of birth and death. Because she felt that by hearing this, she may be detached from the activities of this material world. Actually, it influences, is a practical experience we all have. When you have an opportunity to have a side of what happens to some people, you may not want to, for fear of not wanting to experience same condition, you merely want to withdraw from every kind of a situation that had put such a person into that condition. So she wanted to, for this reason, she was explaining to the, requesting from the Lord to further explain more details about these calamities associated with this continuous process of birth and death, because she felt that by hearing this can also help our detachment from the material activities. And then because she wanted, for this reason, the Lord has to come up with the devotional process, because the Lord, according to the Lord, he says that this is the only part that can save humanity from the clutches of repeated birth and death. And for that reason, the Lord has to begin to explain more and more confidential details about devotional service. And then from this point, we also enjoin, okay, Chitra Prabhu is here. Prabhu Chitra, can you help out with text 4? Is Chitra Prabhu active here with us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you said you don't have your Bhavatam, okay. Okay, I take up on text 4. Kalasheshwara Rupasya Paresamscha Parasyate Swarupam Bata Kuvanti Yad Detu Kusalam Jana. She further requested, please also describe eternal time, which is a representation of your form, and by whose influence people in general engage in the performance of pious activities. Unlike she had requested previously that the Lord kindly explain more calamities associated with the process of birth and death. Now she's praising the Lord to speak more about eternal time. Like we said before, that this time alone is the time that saw through the birth of the living entity. It is time that saw through the growth of the living entity. It is time that saw through the living entity going to old age, and it is time that finally sees through the living entities leaving the body at old age or at any point in time. So in Papa that explained here that however ignorant one may be regarding the path of good fortune and the path down to the darkest region of ignorance, everyone is aware of the influence of eternal time, which devours all the effects of our material activities. So the body is born at a certain time, and immediately the influence of time acts upon it. From the date of the birth of the body, the influence of death is also acting and the advancement of age entails the influence of time on the body. So if a man is 35, is 30 or 50 years old, then the influence of time has already devoured 30 or 50 years of the duration of his life. So given to, what Papa is explaining here is that it is time that actually influences the growth or deterioration of anything in the material world. And then she's requesting the Lord to explain, to describe this eternal time, and as it affects, as it affects the people in general. And because of this time, had forced several living entities into the performance of pious activities. Because people knew, so a lot of people knew that when they engage in bad activities, that time also will bring, by the content of time, will bring the repercussion of those activities to them. And for this reason, those who are not intelligent, they want to do good things so that good results will also come with time. She's requesting more of the concept of this time from the Lord. So she also requested the Lord to describe the concepts of eternal time, which is a representation of the Lord's form, and by whose influence people in general are engaged in performance of pious activities. Okay? So, else we have some questions, we'll pause to attend to it. Otherwise, I will request Jyoti Swarup Prabhu to help out with text 5.
Yes, Prabhuji, I will read.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please, can you help out with text 5?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Text
Prabhu.
5. Lokasya मिथ्याभितेरचक्षुषा किञ्चरम् प्रसुप्तस्य तमस्य नाक्षये शान्तस्य कर्मस्व नुविद्यया धिया त्वमाविरासि किल योगभास्करः. Translation: My dear Lord, you are just like the sun. For you illuminate the darkness of the conditioned life of the living entities because their eyes of knowledge are not open. They are sleeping eternally in that darkness without your shelter, and therefore they are fastly engaged by the action and reaction of their material activities, and they appear to be very fatigued. Purport: It appears that Srimati Devhuti, the glorious mother of the Lord Kapil Dev, is very compassionate for the regrettable condition of the people in general, who, not knowing the goal of life, are sleeping in the darkness of illusion. It is the general feeling of the Vaishnava or devotee of the Lord that he should awaken them. Similarly, Dehuti is requesting her glorious son to illuminate the lives of the conditioned soul so that their most regrettable condition, life may be ended. The Lord is described here in a Yoga Bhaskara, the son of system of all yoga. Devuti has already requested her glorious son to describe Bhakti Yoga, and the Lord has described Bhakti Yoga as the ultimate yoga system. Bhakti Yoga is the sun-like illumination for the delivering the conditioned souls, whose general condition is described here. They have no eyes to see their
Okay,
own.
we can take it up from there, Prabhu. All right,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
One of the significant highlight here is the compassion of the devotee. The compassion, the mindset of the pure devotees. See the way the pure devotees think. Where they say selfless compassion. And what makes the charity of a devotee different from the charity of a non-devotee? Though both are engaging in the same activity, but the mindset makes the outcome differs. because the pure devotee's mindset in engaging in charity is selfless. It does not do anything with the expectation of any personal result or gain. So it is here highlighted that devotee made this inquiry in the interest of the general populace. He was asking these questions to seek solution to what could be the salvage way out for the general populace. So it says here that Bhakti Yoga is like sunlight and illuminates, and the illumination for devouring the conditioned soul, whose general condition is described here, and they have no eyes to see their own interest. So this is also unlike the inquiries made by Sunaka Rishi to Sutta Goswami at Namisraya. He was simply asking for an avenue through which the common man can be saved from their downtrodden situations. So Sunaka Rishi there put it up to Sutta Goswami, said, what is that one thing that they can do that will save humanity? And Sutta Goswami came up with this local Savai Pumsam Parudamu Yatu Bhakti Adukshaye Ahai Tuki Aprati Atayaya Atma Suprasidati. That should the common man be engaged in the service of the transcendent Lord, and that such service should be completely unmotivated and uninterrupted to satisfy the self, Atma. So that only the service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unmotivated, uninterrupted service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is what will satisfy the self, and that will be the highest dharma, Savai Pumsam Paru Dhammo. The highest occupational duty for the living entity should be that service that is rendered without any motive. So the mindset of these pure devotees is completely calculated at a selfless background, where they don't have any stinge of personal motive or interest. So here, the devotee was asking this in the interest of the general populace, not only for our own selfish interest, but what could benefit the humanity in general. So here is highlighted that she expressed her compassion, that it is the general feeling of the Vaishnava or a devotee of the Lord that he should awaken them. Simply, devotee is requesting her glorious Son to illuminate the lives of the conditioned souls so that their most regrettable conditional life may be ended. So this was an express of compassion by her. She expressed her compassion for humanity at large. That Bhakti Yoga is the sunlight illumination for the delivering of the conditioned soul. So the Lord put it up, said, only by engagement in Bhakti Yoga can the conditioned soul be saved. And that Bhakti Yoga means devotional service, a stage where we have come to the understanding that we are eternal servitors of the Lord. We have no other duty than to save the impetus and the desires of the Lord. And while engaging in such service, the mood in discharge of that service must be completely unmotivated. It must be completely uninterrupted. How are services unmotivated? Devotional service is unmotivated when that service is rendered without any personal interest or benefit of the service giver. It is uninterrupted when that service is not subject to any condition. Some of us, we may be very favorably discharging our devotional service so much as conditions are favorable to us. But what will be our stance when conditions are not favorable? Examples are favorable conditions. If everything we need for the discharge of devotional service is provided, then we go on rendering our devotional service. And at that time, We may think that it's all pleasurable. What will happen when all that we need is not provided? So at that stance, we begin to feel that it is time to quit devotional service, or somebody or anybody is an impediment to our devotional service. Nobody should be an impediment. Nobody should be a reason why our devotional service should be interrupted. What about when I have once had one Maharaj said that even when he was sick, completely sick down to an extent that he could not walk, he still managed to chant. So these are tests at conditions coming to interrupt your devotional routines. So if one's mind is fixed, even when one cannot raise the limbs, by meditation, one's mind is fixed on those activities. So nothing should interrupt or should put a barrier between the discharge of our devotional service and our desires. So in that sense, it means that even when we will desire that Krishna should do this for us, Krishna should do that, and when those things do not happen, it should not affect our enthusiasm for the discharge of devotional service. Otherwise, our devotional service will be interrupted by condition. It means that circumstances can cause the interruption of our devotional service. So what Sutta Goswami told brief Sunaka Rishi at the Namishra was that for devotional service to satisfy itself, it should be completely unmotivated, it should be completely uninterrupted for it to satisfy itself. And that should be the stage at which we will begin to discharge devotional service. What did Krishna says in the Gita? He says, it is only by undivided devotional service can I be known as I am standing before you. Undivided devotional service, that is, devotional service that is not interrupted by any condition, any circumstance, and is God without motive. That is when it becomes devotional service. Devotional service means a stage where everything is offered to the Lord without expecting anything in return. Though the Lord himself says, I reciprocate every service endeavor. No service that is rendered towards the Lord that is not matched with equal and opposite reciprocation. The Lord reciprocates every bit of services. Okay, so I request Jyoti Prabhu to read out. Is it Jyoti that read last?
Yes, Prabhuji, I read.
Okay, so I'll go on with the text.
6.
I'll go on with text 6. Text 6 says, Matriya Wacha Itimatu Wacha Slaknam Prati Nandya Mahamuni Abhahase Guru Sresta Pritastam Karuna Dita. In translation, Matriya says, Sri Matriya said, O base among the Kurus, the great sage Kapila, moved by the great compassion and pleased by the words of his glorious mother, spoke as follows. You see, so by the Lord is more pleased. The Lord himself is all compassionate. The Lord is so compassionate in the sense that the Lord is so eager to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls far more than we are aspiring to get back to him. For this reason, he has created innumerable avenues or processes through which the conditioned soul can be able to reconnect with him. So for this sense, the Lord is so compassionate, so compassionate to the extent that if he can show compassion to an enemy who is trying to harm him, like in the case of Putana, Putana came with the intention to harm the Lord, to feed the Lord with the poisonous breast milk. But the scripture says the Lord still showed her compassion. He granted her liberation. for having the love to breastfeed him. The Lord saw in a sense that it was love to breastfeed him. Even when our intention was to feed the Lord with a poisonous breast milk, the Lord still showed compassion. So if the Lord could show compassion to even the demons who are inimical to him, who are envious, Prabhupada often says, he says, we are in the material world because of two reasons. Because we are envious, and because we are, what is the other reason? Prabhupada often says two reasons have become the cause of our being in the material world. Otherwise, we will be in the spiritual world. One is that we are envious of this, the opulence of the Supreme Personality of God, and because we want to enjoy separately from the Lord. So when we know that attitude of wanting to, desiring the position of the Lord, wanting to be the enjoyer and not the servant, and because of that, it gives rise to the impetus of enviousness. And because of enviousness, that puts us in the material world. The Lord says, no, I must give you an atmosphere, a space where you can exhibit these propensities. And that is found only here in the planet Earth, in Davidam. So this place is designed for those who are nursing the envious propensities, who are desiring to enjoy separately from the Lord. The Lord had created this space for everybody with such tendencies to come and exhibit those tendencies here. So otherwise, we will be in the spiritual world. So for that reason, here, the Lord becomes even more compassionate when he sees his devotees show compassion to the fallen conditioned souls. That is what is explained here. That Muni Kapila became even more compassionate when he had these compassionate inquiries from his mother. Prabhupada says in the poem, said, Lord Kapila was very satisfied by the request of his glorious mother, because she was thinking not only in terms of her personal salvation, but in terms of all the fallen conditioned souls. So the Lord is always compassionate towards the fallen souls of this material world, and therefore he comes himself or sends his confidential servant to deliver them. And then, since he is perpetually compassionate towards them, if some of his devotees also becomes compassionate towards them, he is very pleased with the devotee. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that persons who are trying to elevate the condition of the fallen souls by preaching the conclusions of the Bhagavad Gita, namely full surrender unto the personality of God, are very dear to him. Thus, when the Lord saw that his beloved mother was very compassionate towards the fallen souls, he was pleased, and he also became compassionate towards her. So the Lord's compassion becomes double evoked when he sees that his devotees are also expressing this attitude, these symptoms of compassion. So for that reason, the Lord was so pleased to describe the process through which the living entity can be saved through devotional service. So in text 7, I enjoined Jyoti Prabhu to read out text 7. Sri Bhagavan Vacha.
Yes, Prabhuji, I will read. Shri Bhagwan Bhakti Yoga Bahuvedho Marge Bhimini Bhavyate Swabhava Guna Margena Punsa Bhavo Vibhidhate. Translation: Lord Kapila, the personality of Godhead, replied, O noble lady, there are multifarious paths of devotional service in terms of the different qualities of the executor. Purport: pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is one, because in pure devotional service, there is no demand from a devotee to be fulfilled by the Lord. But generally, people take to devotional service with a purpose. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, people who are not purified take to devotional service with four purposes. A person who is distressed because of material condition becomes a devotee of the Lord and approaches the Lord for mitigation of his distress. A person in need of money approaches the Lord to ask for some improvement in his monetary condition. Other, Others who are not in distress or in need of monetary assistance but are seeking knowledge in order to understand the absolute truth also take to devotional service, and they inquire into the nature of the Supreme Lord. This is very nicely described in Bhagavad Gita 7.16. Actually, the path of devotional service is one without a second. But according to the devotee's condition, devotional service appear in the multifarious varieties, as will be nicely explained in the following verses. Hare Krishna.
So this is explaining the Lord started by coming with the concept of pure devotional service, because without the devotional service itself means a condition where the living thing have come to the understanding that he is a service giver and the recipient of service is the Lord. So that is the natural constitution. And anything outside of this construe will make it a misconstrue, will make it a perverted direction. So when the living thing have come to the understanding that he is meant to be giving service to the recipients of service, and that means he has realized the recipients of service to be the Lord, and he keeps on doing nothing but giving service to the Lord without expecting anything in return, though the Lord also reciprocates every service endeavor, then everything goes perfectly. So the Lord starts by explaining the concept of pure devotional service. And he says, in Krishna consciousness, the pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is one, because in pure devotional service, there is no demand from the devotee to be fulfilled by the Lord. But generally, people take the devotional service with a purpose. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, people who are not purified take to devotional service with four purposes. A person who is distressed because of material conditions becomes a devotee of the Lord and approaches the Lord for mitigations of his distress. A person who is in need of money approaches the Lord to ask for some improvement in his monetary conditions. And a person, others who are in distress or in need of monetary assistance, but are seeking knowledge in order to understand the absolute truth, also take to devotional service, and they inquire into the nature of the Supreme Lord. So this is very nicely described in the Bhagavad Gita 7:16. So it also describes the different kinds of devotional service and the outcome, and only in pure devotional service that the Lord is fully satisfied. And the Lord is Sutta Goswami had explained in the first canto that this is the only devotional service that will satisfy the self. When it is God without any motive, when it is uninterrupted, it will satisfy the self. Jaya Atma Suprasidati. That when one devotional service is like the Mayavadis got misunderstood by this concept of oneness. The oneness here is that the devotee has no other whim than satisfying the whims of the Lord. So the devotee's interest becomes one with the Lord by that resolve, focus, and pinpointed desire, satisfying the whims of the Lord. That's the devotee's only desire, to satisfy the whims of the Lord. And then the devotee comes in oneness with the Lord's intention also, because the devotee has no other desire than to satisfy whatever is the desire of the Lord. So the devotee's desire becomes same as the Lord's desire. That's the oneness we're talking about here. But the Mahavir misunderstood this oneness to be the devotees coming in possession of the Lord's quality and personality. That's not the oneness we're talking about. Oneness in desire with that of the Lord. And Lord Kapila here has explained that it's only by pure devotional service that the living entity can be able to gain detachment, that the living entity can be able to free itself from the calamities of this repeated birth and death. Okay, so I take it up here from text 8. Abhisandaya yo him, Abhisandaya yo him sam, Darabam Matsayam Evacha Eva Va Sarambi Vinadrik Bhavam Mahi Kuyatsa Tamasa. Devotional service is executed by a person who is envious, proud, violent, and angry, and who is a separatist, is considered to be in the mood of darkness. So the Lord goes on to describe other forms of devotional service and their expected result. In Prabhupada explains that it has already been stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, that the highest, most glorious religion is the attainment of causeless, unmotivated devotional service. In pure devotional service, the only motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I take it again. In pure devotional service, the only motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is not actually a motive. That is the pure condition of the living entity in the conditioned stage. Yeah, because the natural constitution of the living entity is there to satisfy, to please the limbs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that had remained the natural composition of the living entity. The living entity has no other desire, no other way out than to please the whims of the Lord. So that has been his natural constitution. And whenever he has come to that realization, that's when he begins to feel his real happiness from that, because that is his natural makeup. The Lord had made the living entity in that way, that he has made the living entity to be his service giver eternally. So that has been the living entity's eternal nature. So in pure devotional service, the only motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the actual stage. When one engages in devotional service, he should follow the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master in full surrender. The spiritual master is the manifested representation of the Supreme Lord, because he received and present the instructions of the Lord as they are by disciplic succession. It is described in the Bhagavad Gita that the teachings therein should be received by disciplic succession. Otherwise, there is an adulteration. So they act under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master with a motive to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead in pure devotional service. But if one has a motive for personal sense gratification, his devotional service is manifested indifferently. Such a man may be violent, proud, envious, angry, and his interests are separate from the Lord. So one who approaches the Supreme Lord to render devotional service, but who is proud of his personality, envious of others, or vengeful, is in a mood of anger, and he thinks that he is the best devotee. And then devotional service executed in this way is not pure, it is mixed, and it is the lowest grade. Dhamasa, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur advises that a Vaishnava who is not good character should be avoided. A Vaishnava is one who has taken the supreme personality of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life. But if one is not pure and still has motive, then he is not a Vaishnava of the first order of good character. And one may offer his respect to such a Vaishnava because he has accepted the Supreme Lord as the ultimate goal of life. But one should not keep company with a Vaishnava who is in a mood of ignorance. So this also has to do with the kind of association that we have to keep. Like we said before, that the Vaishnavas are in grade. We said the Lord at the beginning, at the onset, had mentioned that devotional service are in different categories. There are devotional service in the mood of goodness, there are ones in the mood of passion, and also in the mood of ignorance. And this is describing devotional service in the mood of passion. People who are aggressive, who are vengeful, full of anger, envious of others, and so on and so forth. And then the scripture is advising here that companies of such people should be avoided. Though one has to regard these devotees by offering the obeisances from the distance, and one must not take personal associations with these devotees, otherwise one becomes infected by their character. Okay. Okay, Tama Krishna is also here with us. Tama Krishna, can you help out with text? You joined late with text 9. As there are some questions, we can take some time to address it. Otherwise, we request Tama Krishna to read out text 9.
29.9. Is that
Hare Krishna,
29.9?
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. It's 29.9.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. All right. Vishayamapi Sandaya Yasa Swayamiva Ivava Achada Achaya Yumam Prakta Bhuvasa Rasaja Rajasa. Sorry. Translation: the worship
Yes,
of
Prabhuji.
deities. The worship of deities in the temple by separatists with a motive for material enjoyment, fun and opulence is devotion in the mode of passion. Hare Krishna.
All right. So in purport, I take that very quick. The word separatist, Prabhupada says the word separatist must be understood carefully. The Sanskrit word in this connection are binadrik, and pritak bhava. A separatist is one who sees his interest as separate from that of the Supreme Lord. Mixed devotees or devotees in the mood of passion and ignorance, they think that the interest of the Supreme Lord is supplying the order of the devotee. And then the interest of such devotees is to draw from the Lord as much as possible for their sense gratification. So this is the separatist mentality. Actually, pure devotion is explained in the previous chapter on the mind of the Supreme Lord and the mind of the devotees should be dovetailed. The devotee should not only wish anything, the devotee should not wish anything but to execute the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is oneness. When the devotee has an interest or will different from the interest of the Supreme Lord, his mentality is that of the separatist. And then when the so-called devotee desires material enjoyment without reverence to the interests of the Supreme Lord, or he wants to become famous or opulent by utilizing the mercy or grace of the Supreme Lord, he is in the mood of passion. So this we've already said, that Krishna says, it's only by undivided devotional service can I be known as I am standing before you. What does that imply? That implies that in pure devotional service, these are different instances we've cited. Number 2 instance, we cite Suta Goswami's response to Sunakarishi at Namisraya. What did he, when Sunakarishi put the request to Suta Goswami at Namisraya, after looking at the suffering conditions of the conditions, he says, please, great one, what is that activity, what is that service that we can all engage in that will save the generality of the public? He says, Ahai Tuki Apratiyata, Yaya Atma Suprasidati. He survived Pumsam. He said that Dharma, the highest occupation for humanity at large, is that when humanity are being educated in the ways of God, in the ways of rendering, when we say devotional service, it means that service that you render without any stinge of motive, personal interest. And this, when humanity are being engaged in the devotional service of the Superintendent Lord, and that devotional service must be completely, unmotivated and uninterrupted. It must be, he says, Yaya Atma Suprasidati, to satisfy the self. Ahai Tuki Apratiyata, Yaya Atma Suprasidati. That service must be completely unmotivated and it must be completely uninterrupted. To do what? In order to satisfy the self. So the service that satisfies them, because on the soul concept, the soul is aware of its constitutional orientation. The orientation of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is originally made in the manner to discharge unconditional service to the Supreme Lord. That is his comportment. That is how the Lord made the soul. So the soul is aware of that. So for anything that will satisfy the self, it must be a service in that mood, and a service in that category. That's why Sunakarishi says, for it to satisfy the self, such services must be completely unmotivated. They must be completely uninterrupted for it to satisfy the self. Somewhere else in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself says, it's only by undivided devotional service. How is one devotional impetus divided? When one is trying to render devotional service, then one is thinking of his own time, one is thinking of how, what he's going to take out of it for his own sense gratification, one is thinking of how the service impetus is going to benefit him also, a kind of, then motive is divided. Concentration is divided, and result also is going to be divided. Such devotional service will not satisfy the self. It will not be a high to key. It will not be a pratyata. As we're going forward, we're going to meet Anus Kuliani. Everything for the Lord, everything, because that's the natural constitution. That's how the living entity was made. Because only the Lord is the recipient of our service endeavors. And while we are in the material world, Prabhupada says, whenever we begin to think, put ourselves in the shoes of enjoying the process of our endeavors, that will give rise to another impetus, which is enviousness. We become envious by that thinking. And by so doing, the Lord says, okay, you cannot exhibit this tendency here. I will give to you a free space by which you can go there and you can express your impetus, your desire of being the enjoyer. That's why we are brought into this world. Otherwise, we'll be in the spiritual world. And for us to be able to go back, don't forget, all of this discussion have come on the basis of Srimati Devotati's inquiries. She was inquiring from the Lord because she wanted a process through which she can be detached from our material conditions, from our material attachment. She wanted a process. That's why the Lord started explaining the concepts of pure devotional service. That else she engaged in pure devotional service, and then she will be able to gain detachment. For that reason, the Lord is explaining this. Okay, so else there are some questions we want to attend. Otherwise, we will request Tama Krishna. No, Tama Krishna I've just read. Is Chitra Prabhu actively involved with us? Chitra Prabhu, are you actively involved with us? Please, if so, please, can you help out with text 10? Hello, Chitra Prabhu is here with us. Chitra Prabhu, are you here with us? Please, can you indicate if you're actively involved with us? Chitra Prabhu. Okay, I think Chitra Prabhu is not actively involved with us. I request Jyoti Sharu Prabhu to help out with text 10.
Okay, Prabhuji. I will read. Text 10. Karmani har madhu drasya parasmin vadarpanam tadarpanam kajedhyasta yaminti va utyak bhava sasatvika. Translation.
Yes.
When a devotee worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offer the result of his activities in order to free himself from the inherent of fruitive activities. His devotion is in the mode of goodness. Purport: the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, along with the Brahmacharis, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasis, are the member of the 8 division of Varnas and Ashramas, and they have their respective duties to perform for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When such activities are performed and the results are offered to the Supreme Lord, just a minute.
Yes, go on, please.
Yes, Supreme Lord, they are called Karma Arpana, duties performed for the satisfaction of the Lord. If there is an inarbitrary or fault, irregularity or a fault, it is atoned for by this offering process. But if this offering process is in the mode of goodness rather than the pure devotion, then the interest is different. The 4 ashramas and 4 varnas act for some benefit in accordance with their personal interests. Therefore, such activities are in the mode of goodness. They cannot be counted in the category of pure devotion. Pure devotional service, as described by Rupa Goswami, is free from all material desires. Anya bhilasha sita sunyam. There can be no excuse for personal or material interest. Devotional activities should be transcendental to fruitive activities and empiric philosophical speculation. Pure devotional service is transcendental to all material qualities.
All right, Prabhu, it's
Next
okay then.
Devotional service.
All right,
Okay,
thank you very much. Okay, so this very text 10 of Canto 3, chapter 29 is very, very important in our devotional practice. Antecedent at the point, Anya Bilasita Sunyam. What does it mean? It says here, therefore, such activities are in the mood of goodness. They cannot be counted in the category of pure devotion. Pure devotional service, as described by Rupa Goswami, is free from all material desires. Devotional service that is devoid of all material desire is anya bilas sunyam. Without any stench of material desire means the devotee is rendering his service only on the status of pleasing the Lord. And there can be no excuse for personal or material interest. Devotional activities should be transcendental to fruitive activities and empiric philosophical speculation. Therefore, pure devotional service is transcendental to all material activities. Why? Because at this stage, look at it. It says here, it said, perhaps there is any inebriety or faults. It will automatically be atoned for by the offering process, because at that stage, the devotee, at the stage of Anya Bilasita Sunyam, the devotee is offering everything for the Lord and nothing for me. Because the Lord is not affected by any mood, the Lord is not affected by any consequences. That's why whatever is offered to the Lord takes charge of the reaction. So at that stage, the devotee has no fault because everything is offered to the Lord. When the Lord's request to Arjuna to engage in the battlefield of Kurukshetra was an express of Anya Bilasita Sunyam, Arjuna was looking at the consequences of action, while the Lord is above the consequences of action. So if at that point that he was never convinced, he could not say in the same light as the Lord. He was arguing, he was resisting, he didn't want to fight because he was saying killing of one's kinsmen, one family man as being offensive. Therefore, the Lord says, no, anything for the Lord is permitted. Why? Because for the Lord, there is no consequence. He says, perhaps there are any shortcomings, it will be taken care of by the offering process. When one offers entirely the result of his action to the Lord, then it is karma-free. It is God without any reaction, because the Lord, everything becomes absorbed into the transcendental nature of the Lord. And because the Lord is never affected by the reaction of any action, so the Lord takes charge. So this is why the service of the pure devotees are pure in its nature and without reaction, because everything is offered in the service satisfaction of the Lord. Everything is rendered in the sole interest of the Lord, without any stench of material or personal interest. And this makes it transcendental. And this set the devotees free, because the devotee is set free without any stench of reaction. So this is the transcendental nature of the dynamics of pure devotional service. It is God without reaction, because everything is offered to the Lord. Everything in totality is offered to the satisfaction of the Lord's whim, and the Lord takes charge of whatever reaction is may accord the situation. Furthermore, Prabhupada explains that there are different devotional activities such as hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, offering prayers, rendering service, and surrendering everything. And each of them can be divided into three qualitative categories. There is hearing in the mood of passion, in the mood of ignorance, and in the mood of goodness. Similarly, there is chanting in the mood of ignorance, passion, and goodness, etc. 3 multiplied by 9 equals 27. And when again multiplied by 3, it becomes 81. So one has to transcend all such mixed materialistic devotional services in order to reach the standard of pure devotional service, as explained in the next verse. So in the next verse, we are going to hear about the transcendental devotional service. don't forget, bear in mind, Krishna says, it is only by undivided devotional service can I be. So one who wants to understand Krishna as he is must ascribe for the undivided devotional service. I must transcend. There are different 81 different divisions of devotional service. Because here at the beginning, the Lord says, Lord Kapila explained that there are devotional service in 3 different categories: in the mood of goodness, in the mood of passion, and also in the mood of ignorance. And furthermore, they are subdivided into 27 groups and next into 81 different groups. And one must transcend all these different 81 different levels of devotional service. Okay, so next, I enjoin. Is Chitra Prabhu, are you in position to read now? Chitra Prabhu seems not to be active with us here. Okay,
Not at all.
okay, all right. Okay, I get back at Tama Krishna Prabhu. Please help out with text 11 and 12 joint.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maguna Shruti Natrina. Maguna Shruti Matrina. Mayi Sarva Bhusaye. Mando Gati Ibachina. Yata Gam Baso Budwa. Lashanam Bhakti Yogisya Negonesyahi Udahritam Ahwatuki Avyavati Ita Yabati Puru Sutami. Translation: the manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart, just as the water of the Ganges flow naturally down toward the ocean. Such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so in the purport, I quickly take this. So, but before then, here is highlighted that this stage of unadulterated devotional service can be achieved when we get absorbed or completely attached to the hearing process. Srila Rupa Goswami have stated 9 processes of practicing devotional service, starting with hearing, chanting. And Prabhupada says, for the hearing to be effective, we must first be perfected in chanting, because you must hear out what you chant. Okay, so, and now, so once the hearing process is perfected, there will be manifestation of an unadulterated devotional service, exhibited once one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental names and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is residing in everyone's heart. And just as water of the Ganges flow naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted and so uninterrupted by any material condition, flows towards the Supreme Lord. In purport process, the basic principles of this unadulterated pure devotional service is love of Godhead, Mad Guna Sruti, Matrina means just after hearing about the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These qualities are called nirguna, not affected by any nature or mood. The Supreme Lord is uncontaminated by the moods of material nature. Therefore, he is attracted to the pure devotees. There is no need to practice meditation to attain such attraction. The pure devotee is already in the transcendental stage, and the affinity between him and the Supreme Personality of God is natural, and it is compared to the Ganges water flowing towards the sea. The flow of the Ganges water cannot be stopped by any condition. Similarly, a pure devotee's attraction for the transcendental name, form, and pastimes of the Supreme Godhead cannot be stopped by any material condition. The word avichina, without interruption, is very important. In this connection, no material condition can stop the flow of the devotional service of a pure devotee. And the word ahai to ki means without reason. A pure devotee does not render loving service to the personality of Godhead for any cause or for any benefit, material or spiritual. This is the first symptom of unalloyed devotional service. Anya bilasita sunyam. So at that point, we take it up. And then, you see, we've said it before that these responses were given by Sutta Goswami on the request of Sunaka Rishi, that what is that duty that if humanity embarks on it, can be able to save all works of humanity. He said that kind of devotional service, that kind of service towards the Superintendent Lord, that is uninterrupted, unmotivated, that will be sufficient to satisfy the self, is the service that is needed here. So now, it says, one devotional service must be high to key without reason, and a pure devotee does not render loving service to the personality of God for any cause or for any benefit. So sometimes, like the Lord was highlighting about the different kinds of people who approach devotional services. Some who are miserable, some are impoverished, some are in seek of knowledge, some are looking for liberation. And then all these are motives, all these are desires. They're looking for all of these benefits. And Prabhupada says by continuous engagement in devotional service, all these tendencies will be purified with time. They will give up these contaminated tendencies and then take up the pure devotional service without motive. So all these devotional service with personal benefits, with personal interests, are going to stand in only as an obstacle for one to experience the symptoms and benefits of pure devotional service. And until these motives are completely purified by the jagya of transcendental knowledge, or by hearing the transcendental, constant hearing of the transcendental names of the Lord, then with one's mind, having undergone the purity with time, can be able to experience pure devotional service. In the invocation to Smart Bhagavatam, we say, Nityam Bhagavatam Sevayam. By constantly hearing Smart Bhagavatam about the glories of the Lord and his devotees, so all that is troublesome to our heart will completely be destroyed. And after having been destroyed, the irrevocable love will be planted in the heart. So by constantly hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, is capable enough to wash out, to cleanse off all these impurities of personal interest, all these impurities of sense gratification, all these impurities of personal motives in our discharge to devotional service. Gradually, in that way, we will be purified. Okay? So at this point, we will be able to render Anya Bilasita Sunyam, that devotional service that is God, without any tendency for personal interest, without any desire to fulfill our own whims while rendering our devotional service. Okay, so next we request Jyoti Prabhu to help out with text 13. As there are questions, we can pause to give some clarifications. Otherwise, Jyoti Prabhu should help us out with text 13.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please can you read out text 13?
Yes, Prabhuji. Salokya sarasti sampiya sarupyaikavatvam apyauta diyamanam na ruhanti vinamatsevanam jana. Translation: a pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. Salokya, sarasti, samipya and sarupya, or ekavya, ekatva, even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: Lord Chaitanya teaches us how to execute pure devotional service out of spontaneous love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Sikshakstaka, he prays to the Lord, O Lord, I do not wish to gain from you any wealth, nor do I wish to have a beautiful wife, nor do I wish to have many followers. All I want from you is that in life after life, I may remain the pure devotee at the lotus feet, at your lotus feet. There is a similarity between the prayer of Lord Chaitanya and the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya prays in life after life, indicating that a devotee does not even desire the cessation of birth and death. The yogis and empiric philosophers desire cessation of the process of the birth and death. But the devotee is satisfied even to remain in this material world and execute devotional service. It is clearly stated herein that a pure devotee does not desire ekatva, oneness with the Supreme Lord, as desired by the impersonalists, the mental speculator, and the meditators. To become one with the Supreme Lord is beyond the dream of a pure devotee. Sometime he may accept promotion to the Vaikuntha planet to serve the Lord there, but he will never accept merging into Brahmana effulgence, which he considered was then hellish. Such ekatva or merging into the effulgence of the Supreme Lord, it is called ekaivalya. But the happiness derived from the ekaivalya is considered by the pure devotee to be hellish. The devotee is so fond of rendering service to the Supreme Lord that the five kinds of liberation are not important to him. If one is engaged in pure transcendental loving service to the Lord, it is understood that he has already achieved the fine kind of liberation. When a devotee is promoted to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, he receives the four kinds of facility. One of these is Salokya, living on the same planet as the Supreme Personality. The Supreme Person, in his different planetary expansion, lives on innumerable Vaikuntha planet, and the chief planet is Krishnalok. Just as within the material universe, the chief planet is the sun. In the spiritual world, the chief planet is Krishnalok. From Krishnalok, the bodily effulgence of the Lord Krishna is distributed not only to the spiritual world but to the material world as well. It is covered by matter. However, in the material world, in the spiritual world, there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets, and on each one, the Lord is predominating deity. A devotee can be promoted to the one such Vaikuntha planet to live with the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
All right,
In
Prabhuji. Okay, thank you very much. At this point, we
okay,
take it up here. So the point here is that the antecedent is marked at the devotee's desire. If the devotee does not want anything material, why? Because he considered all material opulence as being insignificant as compared to the spiritual benefits. And what the spiritual benefit that it's given an opportunity to continue to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, because the Lord Himself had blessed any discharge of service towards Him with some special bliss. He told the gopis, the extent of your devotion and service to me is so much and intense. Therefore, be pleased by your service. So the Lord had blessed devotional service with a special happiness, a special bliss, according every bit of discharge of devotional service, every bit of service that is channeled towards the Lord's soul pleasure. That goes with some special blessings in return automatically. That the pure devotees do not desire any kind of these liberations, even though when they are being offered, they don't desire it. Why? Simply because their interest is vested in the superior or the most important benefit. They have chosen the best, so they see all of these material benefit as less values. They have vested their interest in the higher value. They have value in the transcendental spiritual benefits of being given the opportunity of serving the Lord. So that is, they consider service to the Lord as being superior to material benefits. That's why the pure devotees do not want anything in return. And when one is able to, one has to gradually rise to this stage or level of devotion, where one is able to see in the delight of the pure devotees, where they don't want anything material. Because what is impeding our advancement in devotional service right now is desire. And what are these desires God with? All these desires are characterized by personal interests. To do what? To enjoy our senses, to gratify our senses. And these are in return, they are impediments for our advancement. And until we have come under the shelter of pure devotional service, we will begin to see the relevant, the super reason why the pure devotees do not want anything material. Because anybody who have seen the best will not surrender for the less. So the Lord is gradually taking us on the ladder of devotional service to where we can be able to envision, where we can be able to see the superiority of devotional or spiritual benefits as compared to material benefits. Because there is more to enjoy in the spiritual world than in the material world. The Lord, in many instances, says, what we are experiencing, the so-called enjoyment in the material world, is just but a perverted reflection. It's just a stinge of reflection. It's just a memory of what is existing in the spiritual world. The reality is vested in the spiritual world. And then what we only sing is a reflection. So if you want the real enjoyment, you put your interest there. Say, though the Lord, even when the pure devotee does not want it, He still grants. Or the pure devotee takes more pleasure in rendering more service to the Lord. Because the all services channeled towards the Lord is already assigned with this special blessing. The Lord had made it so. In the case of the gopis, He told them, He said, may you be happy by your service. So the more, this has become the more reason why the gopis become more attached, more attracted to rendering service to the Lord, because the more service they render, the more happy they become. And for that reason, the Lord Himself at the point had wanted to experience the mood of Radharani. He says that He had observed that Srimati Radharani is always so pleased and happy anytime she's giving to service, is trying to give the service to Him. So devotional service is already blessed with that nature. that the more we try to render pure devotional service, the more we are happy and the more we aspire to do more, because there is a special bliss blessing of bliss attached to it. So, in this nature, the pure devotees do not aspire for any kind of devotion, be it a calavia, be it becoming one with the Lord, be it living in the same planet as the Lord, be it maintaining the same body features as the Lord, no, be it maintaining same opulence as the Lord. They don't care, because there is a higher pleasure over that, and that higher pleasure they aspire for, and that is in continuous rendering of service to the Lord. And because this service nature has been construed this way, even when they don't desire for anything, they're still being rewarded. All right. Okay. So Jyoti Shwari Prabhu I've just read. So I will read text 15. That will be the last text for today. I mean text 14. Please, I request if there are some questions or more points that we should offer more clarity, please indicate. Text 14 I read. Sa eva bhakti yoga kya ayantika udarita yena tivraja trigunam mad barva yupa dadyate. By attending the highest platform of devotional service, as I have explained, one can overcome the influence of the three moods of material nature and be situated in the transcendental stage as is the Lord. In Papa Prabhupada says, Sripada Sankaracharya, who is supposed to be the leader of the impersonalist school of philosophers, has admitted in the beginning of his comment on Bhagavad Gita that Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the material creation, and except for him, everything is within the material creation. It is also confirmed in the Vedic literature that before the creation, there was only Narayan. Neither Lord Brahma nor Lord Shiva existed. Only Narayan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, or Krishna, is always in the transcendental position beyond the influence of material creation. And then material qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance cannot affect the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is called Nirguna, free from all tinges of material qualities. Yet the same fact is confirmed by Lord Kapil. One who is situated in pure devotional service is transcendentally situated, as is the Lord, just as the Lord is unaffected by the influence of material moods, so too are his pure devotees. One who is not affected by the three moods of material nature is called a liberated soul, or Brahma Bhuta soul. Brahma Bhuta Prasanat Atma is the stage of liberation. Aham Brahmasmi, I am not this body. This is applicable only to the person who constantly engages in the devotional service of Krishna and is thus in the transcendental stage, is above the influence of the three modes of material nature. And in the misconception of the impersonalist that one can worship any imaginary form of the Lord, or Brahma, or Brahman, and at the end merged in the Brahman effulgence. Of course, to merge into the body effulgence Brahman of the Supreme Lord is also liberation, as explained in the previous verse. Ekatma is also liberation, but that sort of liberation is never accepted by any devotee, for qualitative oneness is immediately attained as soon as one is situated in the devotional service. For a devotee, that qualitative equality, which is the result of impersonal liberation, is already attained. He does not have to try for it separately. It is clearly stated here that simply by pure devotional service, one becomes qualitatively as good as the Lord himself. So he's enunciating mostly on the effect of pure devotional service, that by the transcendental power of or potency of pure devotional service, one is automatically put in that transcendental oneness with the Lord. That as such, he does not need any separate endeavor to achieve that. And then in this, when one is rendering pure devotional service, they ask, according to Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he has stated 6 symptoms that one in pure devotional service will experience. He says the first 2 for the canister, the one who has just attained the level of pure devotional service, and then the next 4 for one who is in the Madhyama level of pure devotional service, and the whole 6 for one who is an Uttama Adhikari, one who is situated in pure devotional service. The first 2 called Muksha Laguta Krit, that one automatically becomes liberated. Muksha Laguta Krit, that one becomes liberated. And next, Subhada, one possesses the auspiciousness. And by dint of this auspiciousness, one becomes automatically above all material miserable conditions. And Kleshagni, I think Kleshagni, that's the first. By Kleshagni, one becomes instantly relieved from all material distress. So to gain distress from all material conditions become the first symptoms of pure devotional service that will manifest in the body of the practitioner. So all of these qualities will automatically manifest without any separate endeavors. That's what it's saying here. That one do not need to endeavor separately for this. By practicing pure devotional service, all of these qualities, all of these transcendental potencies will begin to manifest in the body of the practitioner. And as such, one do not need any separate endeavors to achieve this. Okay? Hare Krishna. So we will stop here for today. And maybe by tomorrow, by Krishna's grace, we hope to continue from text 15. And perhaps we are able to take it from text 15. We will want to cover up from 15 to maybe 35. Let's see if we can take 10 texts by tomorrow. And then by next week, we hope to round up this Kapila Siksha. So I request that our devotees should ask their questions, should clarify their points of doubt as we are about rounding up. So this is where we wish to draw the curtain for today. We've already exceeded this time by 22 minutes because of having to start late. Sorry about that. So I will put in some there's a chat here.
No, Prabhuji, it was just a general thing from me.
Okay. This is
because there is a parikrama timing, almost parikrama timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're already rounding up on the class, like I said. So in the absence of no question, I will beg your permission to end the class here and to continue tomorrow, 10 a.m. Nigerian time and 11 a.m. Ghana time, if I'm not mistaken, and so on. All right, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock Ghana time.
Jai Vancha Karpa Tarvyascha, Kripa Sindhu Jais Vacha, Vajanam Pavanche, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We are blessed by the presence of Salika Prabhu almost at the tail end. You're welcome, Prabhuji. We miss your glorious presence during the Ratha Yatra festival.
Don't mind me, my karma kanda does not allow me.
No, you also engaged in some transcendental service of the Lord. Like we said, the pure devotees, whatever they do, essence is to satisfy the whims of the Lord. So the Lord is satisfied with whatever service that was keeping you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for understanding.
I was trying to connect you to the WhatsApp video during the data installation. I don't know whether you get.
I didn't get it. I will have connected. I didn't really get it.
Okay. Because my children did not come, I have to put the WhatsApp on video, and then I was trying to connect as many transcendental souls like you whom I didn't get there.
Thank you for your kindness. But unfortunately, I didn't see it. Honestly, I would have been very grateful to have the opportunity.
We are very grateful, Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
We hope to come up again tomorrow by 10 a.m. Nigerian time, maybe 11 a.m. Ghana time.
9 o'clock Ghana time.
Okay, 9 o'clock.
9 a.m. 9 o'clock. 9
okay,
Ghana.
we are ahead of Ghana's time.
Yes.
Okay.
Ghana is GMT. 1 hour. 1 hour.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Prabhu. I am blessed by your presence, at least making it amidst your busy schedules. I know how busy you are.
Yeah, actually, I went for Food for Life and I came back. There was no light. My laptop was down.
Wow.
So
yes, that is a situation sometimes. So sometimes you may have every other thing ready to put on the class. There's no light to power the appliances.
Yeah.
I think those in Ghana are not affected as we in Nigeria.
Yeah, we went for the Food for Life early enough to be able to make sure that I'm here, but unfortunately,
I'm seeing your Food for Life is rapidly improving.
So we are trying to.
We are learning so much from your strategies, new avenues, and so on.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
That means maybe very soon we'll be taking subvention from your end.
No problem. Krishna is capable.
Yes, sure, I believe that. And with such expert devotees as you, think many things can happen.
By grace,
I was becoming so marveled when I see the extent that you are expanding. I said, that means more money is entering there.
Well, Krishna is making it happen. I don't know how he's doing it.
All right, thank you very much, Babu.
Okay, yeah, Jyoti Sharp has to go, so
end the class for all so that we can join the